All right, welcome to another episode of Inside the Tank. I'm Jay Massey, your host, and we're going to be reviewing what just happened on what we would call a very uneventful Shark Tank episode. I believe this is episode 25 of season 6, episode 25 of season 6. For those of you watching right now, YouTube and on live, welcome. Go over to cashflowdiary.tv, participate in the chat box if you'd like. At the end of the day, as I said earlier, this was a very uneventful episode in and of itself. So probably won't be that long of an episode today, but that's okay. We are talking about Shark Tank again, season 6, episode 25. So what did we have today? We had 4 different companies as normal. We were talking about lots of plush toys today in various different forms, and then pacifiers and bees, and then shoes. And probably the most interesting they saved to the last, the most confusing was definitely in the middle. And I just don't even understand some of the ideas. And what's really great is that the show actually showed just how creative you can actually be. And remember, your business should solve a problem. So let's dive right in and find out if we're solving problems today, because that was the fundamental issue. I'm over here looking at my notebook as well, just making sure. So the first business in the tank was Budsies. Now, I'm just going to tell you what I was thinking the moment I saw the name on his shirt. I was like, wow, that's going to be a horrible name. I don't even know what it is, but it's a horrible name in and of itself. I was already like turned off. And then he said $100,000 for 5%. And I'm just like, okay, this is not going anywhere too fast. Now, let me show you guys again. Let's do the math like we always do. When you're asking for $100,000 for 5%, you're just going to take the $100,000, divide that by the 5%. And that means he's saying this is worth, what I am about to present to you is worth $2 million, okay? $2 million is what he's saying that this idea is worth today. So when we're looking at it, what has he's got? At the end of the day, you take a picture of your kid's picture. Okay, I've got kids. I've seen the pictures of I do take their pictures because I want to keep them. And that's what I tell them all the time. They're like, hold it, save it. And I'm like, no. Daddy's just going to take a picture and store it in Evernote. That's literally what I do. Take the picture, store it in Evernote. So whatever the kid draws, they make, period. Retail 69, cost 35. When he said that, I know you've been watching this enough. You knew what I was thinking. It's not the 4X number. You need to be at a much higher price in order to make this work. So, and 4 weeks scaling down to 2 weeks. And I'm just like, wow, a 2-week lead time just to get started in delivery. That's going to make Christmas very tough. That makes all the times when you would want to do this very, very difficult. You got to remember 4 weeks in advance to get your kids' birthday gift. And get them to draw something ahead of time. I mean, it just seems like it's just very complicated from that particular standpoint. Now, 7 month to, was it 2,000 units? He had sold already 2,000 units? Oh, okay. Well, that's not bad. It's better than zero. $94,000 of gross sales on a $39,000 margin. Again, his issue is that it's not enough. It probably works at his size with, the small. But the price point's not enough to begin to compensate other people, bring in manufacturing, and scale, which was basically what they were saying the entire time. Mark had no offer. Damon had 100 for 40%. I don't know why he said no. I have a suspicion. Lori said no offer. Robert said no. And then Kevin at 100 for 50%. And he wanted a contingency to be able to increase the price of the product. Because, it did need to go up. What I find interesting is, just remember this, when you're out there negotiating or trying to look at your options, you don't say no unless you didn't have a genuine reason to come into the situation in the first place. But you don't say no unless you have a better option somewhere else. The only thing that made sense to me why he could say no to Damon and no to Robert, or no to Kevin, was simply because he had an option somewhere else. That's just the feeling I got. I mean, they never, like I said, we get 8 minutes of what was a 45-minute episode or interview process, and we don't know. Because I was like, why did he not take Damon's offer? It seemed like the right thing to do. He couldn't have been stuck on valuation. I just didn't know. I couldn't figure it out. It made no sense.
Well, Jay, I think he probably went into it too early for his business. Like a lot of these companies probably get the opportunity to be on Shark Tank,
Sure.
but they don't really need it at the moment. Like, he's still growing his business. He made 40 grand in 7 months for a brand new business isn't bad.
Sure.
And he's growing. He's on a huge upswing right now in his mind. And so for him, he's evaluating it because he doesn't need the money.
But that's all the more reason to take Damon's offer.
Well,
that's all the reason to take Damon's offer.
not in their minds. Not in their minds. In their minds, if I was in the same situation, I'm thinking I don't need his money. I don't really need his money. So
Yes,
why? So that's I'm saying in the opportunity in mind, they're not thinking I need his money.
Sure.
They're thinking this is going to be great exposure for my business, and
his business is going to collapse under the exposure.
Exactly, and because no one knows about him, but once they do, they go, oh great.
He's not ready for what just happened. He's not ready for what happened to him tonight. He is now stressing and crying tonight. He is in tears tonight because he's got orders or something coming in. Did he even mention if he had a website? What was his form of? He didn't say how he got orders.
Yeah, he has a website. I checked it out.
They have a website.
He has a website. Okay. He had all 3 of his products up there. He had the Budsies, the Petsies, and the Selfies,
and the Deadsies.
And not the Deadsies.
Not the Deadsies.
But I think it's a good. I swore I saw another company doing this.
Sure.
If it wasn't them themselves, because it seemed like it was longer than 7 months ago. But I think
it's a great idea. I like it. It's custom. It goes towards the trends. I don't like lead time because I don't want to wait. I mean, I have a hard enough time waiting 2 business day shipping. You know, that's hard enough. Let alone, you mean I've got to wait for you to make it, and then I got to wait for it to get here? I mean, really? That maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so when we get down to the 6 shark, what would I have offered? Absolutely nothing. Would I take any of the offer? I totally would have took Damon's offer. I still don't understand why that was not taken. It made no sense. He made it. Take it. If for nothing else, you take the money off the table, you learn from him, you go on to your next idea. Would I have made a counter offer? No. I was happy to have him. How would it have been different? I would have said yes. What questions would I have asked? I wanted to know, I guess, if anything, like you said, I wanted to know more about the distribution. Because he had to be doing something right to get even, what was it, 97,000 orders? 90 whatever, 1,000, 94, 90, whatever it was. So he was doing something right, so that was good. What questions were answered poorly? He seemed to have his stuff together during his pitch, and then when they started asking him questions, he started stuttering, and I thought that was weird. And I'm like, is he just nervous or what? And it was just how he answered them, not that he answered them. It was just how he answered them. So it made me wonder what was really going on. But it's all good. At the end of the day, Budsies, not for me. Hope maybe for you, you know, and that's fine. That's completely fine. But he's deadsies to me. Moving on. Moving on. All right. Now to the winner of the odd product of the night. Be thinking. Be thinking. Now, what I want to know is if you guys out there at all had any clue whatsoever that there was a problem with bees and them going away and dying and all that. I had no idea. No idea about any of that. Anyway, he came out there, so he won at $400,000 for 10%. You do the math, you know that's $4 million is what he's asking for, and he makes beehives. Okay? Beehives. And then he said something about selling bees. I didn't know you could buy a bee. I'm like, why? I don't want to buy a bee. I'm usually trying to swat and kill bees, and I don't want to be anywhere near them. So I guess there's just this whole new world that I don't know anything about. Let's talk about it. His product I thought was uber expensive. So you've got to be a special, unique. This is playing upon that irrational desire or passion. $360 for the product, $150 as the cost. Again, he's suffering from the same problem as the previous guy. Not enough margin. Average orders 210, 30% repeat business, which is good. $1.9 million to date, which is great. It sounds wonderful. He's got a high price point, high average order size. 12 months, 775. All of those things are good, but he's not making enough money because he can't get his costs to where they need to be. That's the simple way of putting it, and that's how he ends up in a situation of no offers straight all the way down. Now, What's cool is that I'm going to my notes here. I've got it says, I was writing, the one thing I wrote is, this dude was all in. I mean, everything. Quit the job. The wife wasn't working. Pregnant. First child on the way. He was all in. There was no. He knew that his decisions in that moment. 7 other jobs were on the line. All in. 7 other families are watching what he does or doesn't do. He was all in, and he got the responsibility 100%. It is a responsibility, curse, blessing, however you want to look at it, when you employ others, when you create opportunity for others, and that's definitely something he truly, I believe, understood. My question to you is, on your idea, are you all in? You're out there, you're probably, if you're like us, you're trying to raise capital for real estate investing, or you're trying to raise capital for your business, or you're trying to execute your business in some way, shape, or form. And the only question is are you as all in as what you're seeing on some of these entrepreneurs that are out there as well? So,
real quick.
Yeah.
So no one even countered his offer. I think some of the sharks just dropped out because they weren't interested, but they said other reasons. Because
doesn't make enough money fast enough.
I know. I mean, that's what it really is, and his evaluation was kind of out of really whacked because he only made 1.9 million in the last
he could probably
6 years. And made only $120,000 in profit in the last year. He to get, like you said, to get his money back, he'd be immortal.
Right.
So
that was funny.
I think
that was funny.
I think there's some of the sharks, like Mark always gives a good reason, very clear reason why he's out. Whereas some of the sharks say why they're out, but it's not really why they're out. They're just like, yeah, I don't really like or think I can get my money back from this, but they say other things, and I just find that odd because they don't counteroffer. They're like, oh, well, I can't, $400K for 10, I don't see it there, so I'm not gonna. They don't even counter, so they obviously aren't interested, because if they were, they'd say, okay, well, I would take $400K for 50%, but they never put an offer out there, and I think that's kind of just their easy way out. Like, I'm not really interested.
Maybe. I just, again, the fact that there was even a B problem was educating me on that one. So it's like, moving on. It's not something if I know I'm going to have a choice of what I want to do, and it's just, I'm out. I don't even want to go through the work of figuring out how to get the money back from B. So what would I have offered? Absolutely nothing. He got no offers. Would I have made a counteroffer? Obviously not. How would I have done it differently? I don't know. Go out with a different plan. He needed to be more of a sales and projections type of person. We've seen this issue again in the tank more than once, where you need that salesperson. You can't just go out there being the technician, understanding the product. How are you going to grow it? How are you going to sell? What are you going to do to, as Kevin says, make money? That's what he says all the time, right? What questions would I have asked? I think they got all the right questions. I will say that barbecue one looked cool. I thought that was neat, and I did think that Damon said it best. He's like, I'm not an investor, but I'm definitely a customer. I was like, wow, honey in your own backyard. Probably tastes really good too. But after the novelty wore off, I'm tired of the bees. That's just where it is at the end of the day. Awesome. To what I think was the great product of the night, Pulley Pals. It was the pacifier. If you guys remember, you literally got the pacifier on both sides, which I thought was kind of cool, with the little plush doll in the middle. And she was asking $100,000 for 20%. So again, let's do the math real fast and make sure that everybody's all on the same page. We got the $100,000. You're just going to divide that by 20%. She's asking for $500,000 for the business. Now, as we go back here, it's a pacifier and it's a baby play. I personally like the idea of a baby play because people like to make babies. Therefore, there will always be somewhere at all the time. So you're always going to have a customer, which is kind of cool. Is you're going to have this baby play. So lots of babies born every year. I think, what'd she say, 4 million? Goodness gracious, 4 million. That's a lot of babies every year. And over the last 12 months, it was $97,000 of revenue, which is, I think, awesome. She's sold on Amazon. I bet you her store blew up today. And 350 specialty stores, retail. She's got good numbers on the retail and costs, but that could be also the problem compared to the competition, as I guess what Kevin was talking about. So doing trade shows, and invested, again, another case of being all in. She got money from every source, retirement, college funds, parents, everybody. And she pitched her concept, they believed in her, and she was willing to go do what it takes to make it happen. So, again, we've got Mark, no offer, Damon, no offer, Robert, no offer, Kevin, no offer, and Lori made an offer. Now, again, it's almost... it is more fun to watch this with me than to watch, how some people like to watch other people when they're watching their favorite sports team and they get into it. Like, yes, go, go. Yeah, this is kind of like that for me because I get upset at the entrepreneurs for what they say or don't say. And I'm like, dude, that was stupid. All the time. And if you would have been here, you would have seen right when Lori said, all right, I got an offer. I was like, yes, take it, whatever it is. Because oftentimes again, remember, reference earlier, if you don't have a better option, take the one in front of you. But you're also gaining access to information and expertise and techniques and things that you just don't know, networks. And the original offer, what was it, 100 for 30, yep. Right? So she said 100 for 30, and I'm like, take it. But as any respectable salesperson, entrepreneur should, she did at least throw a counteroffer, and it wasn't that big, so it didn't seem unreasonable. I didn't think it was going to lose her the deal. She didn't go, well, no, it wasn't that, and they weren't that far apart to begin with, and she said, no, 100 for 25, and then Lori, shockingly, said, no, how about 28, and then I didn't understand why there was hesitation, and I'm like, what are you doing? Quit hesitating, take the darn thing. You don't understand, I'm getting emotionally involved in a product that's not even mine, because I want entrepreneurs to succeed. And that's one of the most and things that's close and dear to my heart is getting entrepreneurs in a position to succeed and be able to weigh options quickly. I mean, if you don't have a better option and you were just made an offer by someone who can, even if all they do is get you one step further, that's further than you would have gotten without them, take it and move forward. Okay. So,
I have a quick question.
Yeah, okay.
Did you notice that she seemed really nervous when she first showed up there? Like, she looked like she was sweating and like someone just died or something.
She may have been.
Like, I just read it like she was just like, she looked like she was going to cry. I didn't understand.
There was a lot on the line.
But that's, no, from word one.
There's a lot on the line.
So
think about it this way. You know months in advance if you're going to go on the show. You know months in advance. You are preparing. You've prepared pitch after pitch because you had to prepare to audition. You had to prepare for multiple different rounds. And now the big dance is here. Today's the day. Yeah, she's nervous because everything's on the line. If I could say the wrong thing, everything's on the line. I've put my blood, sweat, and tears, my parents, my kids. How am I going to face them when I get back home? All of that stuff. Yes. But that's exactly why we want to honor entrepreneurs for being willing to stand in that gap. And hopefully they watch this to prepare themselves better from time to time. So, and again, this is the product tonight that I was all in on. I'm like, yeah, this one's good. What would I have offered? Very similar. I would have probably given her the 100 for 20. Would I take any offer? Absolutely would have taken Lori's offer because she needed somebody. Would I have made a counteroffer? Sure, you can make a counteroffer, just don't be stupid and ridiculous. How would I have done it different? I would have wanted, well, it's not so much how I would have done it different as much as questions I would have asked. I wanted to know more about how she could get the cost down, mostly because Kevin was bringing up a point that, I wasn't aware of, just the inexpensive nature of plush toys and the inexpensive nature of pacifiers, and combining the two, how that doesn't necessarily justify being able to charge more. Although, depending on whom you're marketing to, like if you're marketing to the higher end market. You know, the same mom that wants the Bob stroller probably is willing to spend the $19 for the plush toy Pulley Pals, and that makes sense. This makes sense. And it actually kind of had a decent name, too. So I was, again, all in with her on this one. I resonate with the spirit. I hope that Julie Thompson, you're out there. You're making it happen. This is good. Congratulations tonight because you're on the way. All right. So last one of the night. I don't know about you, but when they showed them starting, I thought they were selling a kilt. I was like, what are they doing and why are they dressed that way? I totally didn't get it. I wish somebody would have asked, or maybe
they never explained it.
And I'm like,
and
what was that about?
It didn't look like they were Irish.
I was
so I didn't understand why they would think
just thrown
kilts
off.
are just like, that's what I'm going to wear
That
into the
was
Shark
it.
Tank.
That was it.
Like, yeah, out of all the things I want to wear, I'm going to wear a man skirt. Okay, sounds about right.
Yeah, that made sense. That it made sense to them. It doesn't make sense to us. I have no idea why. I wish we would have gotten some explanation. Anyway, $200,000 for 15%. Let's do the math to figure out what they're asking for one more time. So we're just going to take the $200,000, divide that by 15%. Now you know they're asking for about $1.3 million for their idea, which is shoes. More comfortable, lighter running shoe, more versatile, flexible. They were bending it and twisting it and all this type of things. And then they had this special email marketing software, which I thought was pretty neat and very interesting as well. So they did $500,000 in 6 months. That's not a bad start. Projecting $2.5 million next year. I guess they have a deal with NASCAR in some way, shape, or form, which I'm like, do NASCAR drivers wear a special shoe? I had no idea. That was kind of new to me. And I guess they would want it to be light, less weight in a car or something. I didn't even get that one. I didn't know there was special shoes for NASCAR drivers. Maybe there is. $68,000 in inventory. And they say every one of their customers reorder wholesale pricing. They've got the pricing in the right space between the 35 to 50, 75 to 85, with the cost being 11 to 13. And they're really not in the U.S. They were mostly e-commerce. They were in other countries. I think, was it London?
Australia.
London, Taiwan, Australia. They said Australia. I didn't remember that one. But yeah, they were in a lot of other countries. And again, this one frustrated me a little bit. Not because, Mark, Damon, Lori, Kevin said no. And again, I agree with Lori a lot. She's like, how are you going to compete with the name brands you and I already know? I mean, you and I already know the Nike, the Adidas, Puma's got a head start at this point. You can take any of those guys. And you're like, how is that going to work? You're new. Are you really that good? It has to be that good. It's to get, shelf space and distribution. And Robert was in, and I like that. Robert wanted to go in, but he's also admitted, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to go in if we can find someone that would go in with us to go make this happen. And he said, Damon. And I was like, yes, go get Damon. Now, Damon had already gone out by this point, and but he said something that I don't know if they didn't respond to it, or maybe how they responded to it wasn't right, because Damon said we would have a challenge. Damon seemed interested, but he said we would have a challenge. I interpret that as there's a personality conflict or something that he's sensing that I'm deficient in, and he and I would have a challenge. And I'm just like, okay, but that's my angle. Let's go figure that out. Let's go dig on that and figure it out. And when Robert was saying things like, look, if you can get Damon back in, I'm in. And then Kevin bailed him out by giving him the closing statement right there. Is there anything that they could do? And then Damon's like, no, I don't think so. This is when you use the two most powerful words in the English language. When you hear stuff like that. Really? Why? I just want to know why. This is not, it's the time to open your mouth and dig, find out why is he saying that. There was a reason he was basing that on something. I don't know if he had a bad experience before. He's projecting that bad experience before is about to happen again. What did I do today that makes you think we can't learn to work together? Because I'm here. Tell me. And I will turn and change right before your eyes in any way, shape, or form. But you got to work with me. And you got to do that. Really? Why? I'm telling you, next time you're out there negotiating a deal, looking to raise some capital, what have you, really why? It'll get you unstuck really quickly from whatever it is that's going on. And I was just like, maybe they edited that part out. I was just like, oh, you could have had that one. I still think they could have had that one. Somebody somewhere, though, will probably make them an offer, especially if they did $500,000 in 6 months, because that ain't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, two things that I thought about was first, do they even have to compete against the Nikes and the Adidas to make a good market for those shoes? I mean, if they did 500,000 in 6 months, and why they don't have to be a multi-billion-dollar company to get an investor at this point. Right. You know, they're trying to. It's like, well, I'm not trying to compete with Coke.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, if they have some special shoes, why wouldn't they want a license? No one even offered a licensing agreement saying, hey, why don't you take your shoes to a Nike's or an Adidas or a Puma or one of these other places? Because
that's a good question.
They would love to get a better shoe out there if you had some kind of patented.
That's what they said.
Insole, because they said they had a patented thing, and they never.
You got a point.
No one ever offered that.
No one ever came up with it. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe they'll watch this and go, you know what? Let's go get a patent and license, or let's go license this sucker. Would be a great idea. Great idea. That's Jacob back there coming up with the big brain. So, what would I have offered? I don't know that I would have offered much of anything necessarily, because again, I suffer from. You guys know I don't like anything that you got to manufacture and produce. That is, I had a hard enough time producing a book. That's hard enough for me. Like, oh man, no. So would I have taken any offer? Yeah, of course. If I had gotten an offer, I would have taken it. Made a counter offer? Probably not, because you need the help to scale and distribute. How would I have done it differently? I wouldn't have worn a kilt. Okay, so I'm just saying I wouldn't have worn a kilt. What questions would I have asked? I want to know how they were going to get to that $2.5 million. And it's not so much the questions that were answered poorly. It was a question that was not asked. That's, in my opinion, I still hold to it. I think they could have had the deal. They could have had Damon if they would have just dug some more. All right. So, best offer of the night obviously goes to Julie Thompson and Lori, because they did a little deal together, which was great, and made that work. Worst name for the product tonight clearly was a Budsy. Okay, that's all I got to say on that. And then worst deal of the night, there was like so few. There's only, what was it? Three?
Like there wasn't even.
It's like.
There was no offer on the fourth one.
Yeah.
On the second one.
There's like, what am I going to choose from here? Like it. There's only a deal, right? There was only one deal, so well, I don't know if that's the worst one, but at least it was a deal. She still got some work ahead of her. Julie, you got some work ahead of you. I know you know this already. I'm sure you and Lori have already talked about what you got to do, especially if you still have, she said, $100,000 worth of inventory sitting there. Although after tonight's show, you probably only have $50,000 left, so that's good. I'm excited for you. Go make that happen. I'm sure moms and moms-to-be everywhere are going to be excited to have your toy on their child's, crib and carrier and stroller everywhere, because they're going to be looking at it, and lots of kids are going to grow up with your toy. So good job. Way to have a great idea. And for those that were backing her, way to give her that support. So it was pretty cool tonight. That's, I think, all we've got for you. So long as the episode is new, we will be back here 15 minutes after the show airs live on Pacific time. 15 minutes after the show airs, we're here live. You can participate in the chat room, give us questions, always talking about the show. Love hanging out with you guys. Again, it's been fun talking to you tonight. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.